Kids and cadets, welcome back to Tommy Time. Thanks for coming out. What we're going to do is a carb clean and tank flush on a 2014 Murray. This is the 500E series engine. So I got this in a package deal, 3 for $60, and we've gone through this yard machine already. I did a video on that. We cleaned the carburetor and the tank and got that to fire off. We have not done the Troy built TB400 XP yet. So we've had luck so far. Like I said, we were able to clean this one up. There was rust in the carburetor on that. So 3 for $60. They're all fuel related issues on these 3. They fired off on Happy Juice initially in the first video. So let's start on this one. What we're going to do is remove the 3 bolts on this recoil. It'll give us access to the top of the tank, and it makes it easier to remove the linkages on the or one linkage on the carburetor. So let's do that. We got 8mm on the top for those 3. I'm going to use my DeWalt machine to help us along. My 18-volt impact. Hope you're doing well today. Overcast in Southwest Florida. Keeps the heat down. Remove those 3, push that to the side. Save these for later, we'll need them. Don't eat them. Remove cover. This one here had no filter in it. We're going to put a new filter in it when we put it back together again. So pretty dirty. So since you have the 8mm on the impact, the outer 2 sheet metal screws here are 8s. Remove those. I think this job will go quicker than the yard machine power mower. That was a pain in the butt, getting the hoses back in place and removed. 7mm for the last 2, which are here and here. These go into the plastic body of the carburetor. Getting a little bit of a sprinkle, but I think we can keep moving. I don't melt. And you guys are all safe eating your Doritos and drinking Pepsi. Air filter backing plate comes off like so. Remove your hose up here. Don't forget to put that back on when it goes back together. Now I'm going to lift up the tank. There's 2 slits up here in the recoil housing that this tank sits in. I'm going to take it off as one piece. We had done a fuel sample on this, and it was very dirty and out of date. It had dated out. Okay, now we're going to pull on the carburetor, wiggle it, remove it as one. Bend my linkage till it pops off. Put this aside for later. Now I'm going to take my needle nose, bring this clamp down, give the hose a twist to break that tension, and just pull it apart with brute force, Tommy time force. So we'll set the carburetor down. I'm going to take a empty container and just fill this up with the gas here and get a better look at it. very dark and discolored. We'll use some compressed air after and get rid of any remaining moisture in the gas tank. That's good enough. I'll use compressed air to get the rest of it. So that's what we're looking like. A lot of contamination and the gas just looks stale. It's very brown and outdated. This thing fired off, like I said, with a shot of Carb Clean. So off camera, I'm just going to blast this thing off with some air. Just to get any of the remaining moisture that was in there. So it's all blasted out, blasted a little bit through the fuel line here. There is a small screen at the bottom of the tank. So this is ready to go. I still have my 7mm on the impact. Now it's time for these two screws on the bottom of the bowl. Those are 7s. Bring those out. These have to go back on the bowl. They got a flat washer here to keep the plastic bowl on. So now we're going to stick a wide screwdriver in here and pop this bowl off. Let me grab a screwdriver. I don't have it handy. Or I'll try this needle nose. Okay, that was enough to do it. Pry that apart. A lot of sediment in the bowl. If I can turn the camera down and show you. A lot of snot in there. I'm just going to take some compressed air, get rid of the remaining crud in the bottom of the bowl, so that's ready to go. That's clean. The cap looks a little grungy. I'm going to blast some air. You see a little hole here. There's a metal screen breather hole. I'm going to blast some air in here as well, just to clean up this cap right in that area. See all that fuel that blasted out of there? Have your safety glasses on. So that's ready to go. Now we're going to separate the main cartridge here from the body of the carb. Just lift up on the cartridge with the screwdriver. Here's your main jet. Just use the screwdriver as a pry bar push up on it, and it just popped out with a lot of dirty fuel. So I'm going to go off camera and blast in here. There's 3 areas I'm going to blast: up here, in the middle, and then down here. So I blasted there in the middle and then up there. I also came over here, blasted that opening, blasted up here in this opening. This here is just a breather tube, little bit in there. My fuel intake inlet, a little bit in there. In the general body of the carburetor. So that all looks well and good. I'm happy with that. Now it's time to separate the main cartridge, the secondary cartridge here. I'm just going to pry up on that without stabbing myself. Pull that apart, and you can see all that ethanol fuel residue here on the inside of this secondary jet. So we want to get rid of all that right there. Jet looks like it's opened or not blocked, and this one looks like it's not blocked. So I'm just going to take my bread wrapper, pokey, that's all open, and then do the main jet here. Mailman just went by for a second time. He had dropped me a bunch of parts earlier. So that's free and clear. Just going to take a little compressed air. I'm happy with that. If I had my drill bit, I'd bore this out, but I don't have one nearby, so I'm just going to leave it like it is and reinstall it. So this project's going much quicker than that yard machine power more. That was a bear. These overhead valve engines are really quick on the carburetors. Push the center cartridge here back in the secondary cartridge. Ready to go back in. Now, if this thing was really gunked up, I would remove the needle and get rid of any buildup on the needle, but it seems to be moving pretty easily. Put a little pressure on the fuel intake, move the float up and down, and it is stopping and releasing air as I blow on the inlet there. 2 thumbs down, but don't do that to my video. 2 thumbs down on the cartridge till it clicks. This is clean and ready to go, the bowl. So I'm looking at my jet and I'm looking at that divot. They should line up because this is where the jet pulls in the fuel down in that little pocket. So if you get a little bit of water, it's going to settle there, and all you're going to be doing is pulling water into the jet. line up my 2 holes, give it a little push, grab my 2 screws that have the washers on them, start those by hand. I'm going to use my impact, but be careful. You don't have to go crazy. This is just plastic. Okay, that's back together. Now I'm ready to come back up and install the linkage. My hole for the linkage, grab the linkage, install. It's a Z-bend that goes back in like so. Position the carburetor, make sure your white keeper and the black O-ring are in place. Sometimes they stay on the intake tube here. If they do, just remove them, put them back in here. It goes on a lot easier if it's put back in one piece like this. Okay, pushed it back into place, check my throttle, everything is free and clear, no binding. Now I'm going to put my tank on, hook up my fuel line here. Fuel tank is pretty, I see a little bit of moisture down there, but I don't think it's going to amount to anything. So let's put this on. These 2 tracks here go in these 2 tracks there. What I like to do is just get it started and then come down and start fishing my fuel line into the carburetor intake nipple. Continue pushing the tank till it's down, then continue pushing the fuel line the rest of the way onto the nipple. Grab the needle nose, put that fuel clamp on like so. We don't want any major fires with any leaking fuel. So this is on. Now we're doing the backing plate. I'm just going to take some compressed air and get rid of some of this goobered up snot off camera. Hose goes on. Get that nice and snug. Since I have the 7mm socket on, we're going to do the inner plastic hold down screws first. These go directly into the carburetor. I like to do those to center the carburetor first, and then the sheet metals last. Let's change the bits to the 8. And then we're down to these 2 small sheet metals. Usually I just use a small 1/4-inch drive ratchet, but to speed things along, I've got my DeWalt 18-volt impact out here. I normally do everything by hand. I'm just used to doing hand equipment and not use any kind of impacts or air tools, but I do have all the air tools. I have everything I need. I'm used to turning wrenches, I guess you could say. True backyard mechanic. because back in the day, if you didn't have a lot of equipment, all you had was a set of hand tools, and that's what you lived with. So you get accustomed to using hand tools only. You get older, you have more funds available, you get spoiled, you get to use all this kind of stuff you never could afford. Okay, so that's on. We're looking good. We're really cooking with dynamite. Put my aftermarket filter on. I'll clean this up later with some grease cutter. But for now, we're going to put this in place so we can try starting. My little tab here looks like it broke. That should fit into that little slot, and it's broken. So I'm just going to do it as is. Let me get you on the ground. We're going to fuel it. This took about half as much time as that power mower did. That China machine was a real pain in the ass. This overhead Briggs plastic engine is straightforward. There's nothing complex about this machine. So you're going to spend half as much time with me today, just because this video's nearly done and it went so well. So like I said in the beginning, 3 for $60. I upped the price to 20 each just because I felt like these were all going to be easy fixes. This did not have a blade on it. We ended up putting a blade on this machine. I don't know why Harvey, the homeowner, removed the blade. I was kind of fearful that the crankshaft was bent. But when we fired it off with Happy Juice, I didn't feel any vibration. This will be the test right now because we're going to start it and let it idle. We'll put Mr. Snake up here. If he bounces off, then we know we got some sort of issue. It's got a new blade, so we know the blade isn't the issue. It'll be a crankshaft issue. So started, Mr. Snake wanted to dance off, but I didn't see any or feel any vibration in the handle. Maybe he's getting tired of me and he wants to run away. A little bit of smoke at startup, started on the first pull, which was surprising. We got some oil that's burning off of the muffler. So let's try starting it again. I don't see any gas leaking out of it. There is some oil under the muffler, so maybe this thing was overfilled at one point. Let me try looking at that right now, the oil level. I think they were all pretty close to full. I don't believe any of them were crazily overfilled. Okay, this one is slightly overfilled right here. So that could be our oil burning issue. It's above the arrow. And it may settle down here in a minute. The oil's been kicked up into the engine. We'll try it right now and see if it's the same. It's settled down here for a minute or two. We're still high. The oil level's high. I'm not high. So we got to drain some oil off. I may even do an oil change. That looked like it was kind of worn out. Yeah, I'll change it out. It looked kind of dark. So I didn't feel any vibration in the handle. It feels smooth. So like I said, I don't know why Harvey removed the blade, and the spacer and the bolt were all missing. I had to scrounge up replacement bolt and spacer. So now he doesn't want to lead me. So oil change on this, and I'll clean up the air filter cover that had all that oil and crud built up on it. So this 2014 turned out nicely. I'm happy with how this one ended up. This will be a good seller. I'll do some deck cleanup with this, and it should be ready to go. I'm thinking 120. Maybe I can come up with a bag for it and increase the price. If I throw a bag in, I always up it a little bit. And I do get requests for bags from time to time. So I'm sure I can come up with something. Since the Murray sticker is missing here in the front, I can put any brand name bag on it and it won't look out of place. If I got Murray here and Troy built or something else on the bag, people might begin to wonder if I buy stuff from metal scrappers and put it all together, which I do. So there you go. I think we're done with this. Took me half as long to do this Briggsy as it did this Power Mower. Just to keep the trend going, I may do a carb clean on this. This was the other one that was in the group. This fired off with Happy Juice. Did not come with a cover, and I got to figure out how to get one, because using this Troy built part number, it just gives you deck material, parts, wheels, blades, things like that. There's not a single engine part under that model number that I used. So I got to dig deeper. This is a TB 400 XP, and it's a Zhongchen engine, just like this this yard machine. Have a good day today. I appreciate you sticking around for 30 minutes watching me hack through this. Murray, please tip your waitress and wait staff. Come back and see me. I may even do that video here shortly on the Zhongqin Troy built machine. Have a good day today. Thanks.